All right, guys, so these originally released way back in 1996, and they are back again for the
gazillionth time.
No, it's the 2009/10. There was the 2015/16, and then now this one, which is not too many times, but still more than the Air Jordan 12 in white and red for whatever reason, I don't know. And way more than the black and royals. I mean, where the f are those? Hey, what's good, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. It feels like just yesterday that we were talking about the Air Penny 1 in a brand new colorway, but today we're moving it forward with the Air Penny 2 in an original colorway known as the Atlantic Blues. They are back again for the third time, apparently. This time around, they're labeled as Quick Strikes. I don't know if that was a thing before. All I know is that this is a little bit different than the last release, which are these guys right here. Let me see their tongue. Yeah, 2015. Basically, there's not a ton of change, but I'll showcase what was different or what has been changed in just a minute. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this bottom. I love this. This is up-tempo. If you know, you know. If you don't, well, you probably missed out because the 90s were full of up-tempos and the bottoms looked like this, and it was just awesome. I love seeing this traction pattern as a through line throughout the up-tempo series. And I know that these are not labeled as up-tempos, but every time I see this weird squiggly, spirally traction, I just immediately think up-tempo. Anyways, what we've got here is a radial traction pattern. It's a very interesting traction pattern in and of itself, just because the rubber or the grooves is so thick that there's no movement whatsoever, no motion to this Atlantic Ocean, if you will. And yeah, I just really like the way that it looks. A little bit different than the original as far as the overall rubber compound goes. The original products had a, actually I could bring this up. My good old Penny 2 retro that I wish would come back. This is what they kind of look like originally. So just pretend like this bottom is on this shoe and everything like that. So it was a little bit of a darker blue. On top of that, it was translucent, whereas these guys are not. And the previous release of this shoe also did not feature the translucent outsole. Very interesting, but you can see that it's a mix between translucent rubber as well as the actual traction pattern itself in solid rubber. Now, as far as the tech is concerned, obviously you can see the rear right there, so that is visible, and it's a max air unit. We talked about this in the Penny 1 retro review, the, what were they called? Stadium green. But anyways, in the back used to be an Air Max unit. Nowadays it's these thinner, smaller bubbles. It's actually quite interesting because this is how they look underneath the sole and all that stuff. So what you see here, this yellow stuff, is actually polyurethane, which is really cool. Recently I had learned from Aaron Cooper that stuff like this is considered poured PU. The reason why it's so weirdly shaped is because they would literally pour the liquid polyurethane, let it dry, and just like that. It's a time-consuming process, but they still did it on the retro. This is the retro, not the original. But if you also pull this out, there's more, or there was at least more poured PU in there. It's since, you know, it does what polyurethane does. It just kind of crumbles and goes away. Phylon does not though, so that's why this is still intact. But anyways, this is what they look like underneath. And so you'd have two chambers. You've got the surrounding and then you've got the pillow or the bag. This is the main strike zone, and then this is the stability zone. So if you were landing, the thought or the process was that you would land directly square on the ball of your heel, and that would be the impact absorption area, and then all of this stuff around it would be so that you're not rocking and just rolling. And rocking and rolling with your ankle is a bad thing. Rocking and rolling at a concert, very good.
You're on one today.
I'm just full of dad jokes today, man. And then in the forefoot area, we've got a 4-foot zoom unit, just like this. It is top loaded just like this. Can you feel it right off the bat? No, it's a little stiff. So you got to break these things in. 90 shoes are built different than today's shoes. The foam itself, even though it's EVA, aka Phylon, I mean, this is some sturdy Phylon, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit heavy, it's a little bit thick. It's not like Cushlon or Lunar or any of that new stuff. The density levels of these new modern foams are insane. If they ever had that back when I was a kid, I would have been mind blown, because I'm telling you, like if it didn't have air in there, and most of you guys that grew up in our time frame know, if it didn't have air in there, it didn't feel great. Nike really became king in that era and everything like that. Or I should say, if it didn't have something in there, like Hexalite, DMX, there was Zoom, there was Air, Fila had their 2A or A2, I always forget which one it is, but everybody had something, some sort of gimmick, but this was just the best. Now we do have some carbon fiber plates and everything. This is what they look like underneath the sole and all that stuff. And then this is also where I'm gonna, you know, really kind of complain a little bit. I'm not gonna complain a lot, but it's just the one thing that I really have a problem with, which is the placement. Like it's just not, you know, precise. Like it's supposed to meet up with the guidelines. That's why guidelines are in place. Now, if you were to match them up with the last release, which is this guy right here, clearly they're dirty. They got the different logo on the pods. I'll explain why in a moment. But what it looks like is that the carbon fiber weave is just a little bit different. So I'm wondering if there's two different manufacturers, and these guys right here are just a little short. And so I think what's happening is that they're matching the carbon plates up with this guideline, which would be the sole, and they're just not quite tall enough to match up with the top guideline there. And it's on both sides. So you could just see that it's just, I don't know, it's just not tall enough. So I don't know if that's just an issue or what, but that's something that I noticed since this, I think it was the social status, right? Those penny twos, where I was like, what the hell is wrong with the carbon and why is it not in the right spot and all of that stuff. So that's the only thing visually that like my eye gets drawn to right away, where I'm like, yo, that's not accurate. And it's literally the only thing that I actually have a problem with. It's not even a big problem. Clearly I bought the shoe. I love these, so it's not going to stop me from buying them. It's just one of those things where it's like, hey guys, can you please, like, I don't know, fix it. It doesn't match. Now, as far as the materials go, they're very similar to the previous release right here. So both of these have very nice leather, or very nice for Nike standards, Nike sportswear standards on top of that. I would have loved if these came in an original box. These actually come in the same style box that a Jordan 12 would come in. So it was the cardboard top with the red trim and the black base. I don't know if that would justify the price necessarily if they came in that original style box. I just know that it would be more of like a respect or tribute thing, not just for the product itself, but also for all the customers. I know that I would have liked it. I've been like, ooh, this is sick. But anyways, the materials, like I said, very nice. The blue layer feels like it's synthetic suede and everything like that, or synthetic nubuck. So that's the area where it's not premium there or anything like that. But the actual white panels, the leather is actual leather. So there's a huge plus there. I don't remember if the originals were leather. I think they were, but I could be wrong. I just know that certain colorways like this one were all synthetic. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, the original version wasn't. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, because they've been doing that for a long time. Like the Jordan 4, for example, all the way back in 1989, there were two original colorways that most people love. I know that there was more. There was the military and the fire reds. We're not talking about those, although I guess you could lump them in with the white cements. Just the black cement was Durabuck, whereas the other white-based colorways were leather-based. Durabuck synthetic, leather is clearly not. And just in case you needed to know, yes, the 3M is all there. So it's the piping around the shoe. You got the potted logo right there, and it just, I mean, this is fantastic, man. This is awesome. Now, one of those changes that I was talking about outside of the carbon fiber, as well as the outsole where it's not translucent anymore, that they definitely did differently than the originals, come in the form of these little pull tabs right here. The original version looked more like these guys right here, where it's black and then it's very faint. You could barely see it, but there's blue dots in there. So it looked like those like old school like laces, and they would make them out of keychains or lanyards. It was very popular back then. And this time around, they're kind of pinstriped. So I thought that was an interesting touch. I don't know if they couldn't source the old stuff. I don't know if they're just trying to make these a little bit different than last time. Either way, this is closer to the general release version of the shoe back in 1996, whereas the last time that these released, which is these bad boys right here back in 2015, this was based off of Penny's actual PE, where the logos right here at the pods featured the 1 cent logo, whereas all the retail pairs featured the swoosh and all that stuff, and the 1 cent was in the back, with the exception, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the All-Star colorway. The All-Star colorway was different, where they had the Penny logo on the pod, and it was dope. But again, everything else is there. They look great. The shape looks great. The materials are great, in my opinion. I loved all the jewel logos and stuff. The little Penny logo inside the jewel looks awesome. If you're curious about the insole, this is what it is. It's not too bad. It's not a great insole or anything like that, but this is closer to a performance-based insole than anything else. It is still very lightweight and open cell foam, but it's not like super fluffy and stuff, so it's a little bit more on the dense side. However, you can clearly take it out and replace it with anything that you want, although I've never had a problem with these insoles. Now, as far as fit is concerned, they do fit true to size, so whatever you typically wear, that is what I would recommend. And if you happen to be in the Sacramento area, make sure that you check out Phenom, because they have these in stock. So they're all just right there. They're beautiful. They're ready to be purchased and all that stuff, and I just think that they're awesome. What? When does this shirt release? I'm glad that you asked. You should see a pop-up right over here. It'll have all the pre-order information. Pre-orders will be open from Thursday through, I think, Monday. This is actually a double whammy. This is a nice little tribute to one of the greatest dunk contests of all time. It's also a cool tribute to all of our good folks over up north in Canada, eh? And then on top of that, this is an Oakland moment. If you guys remember, boy, back in 2000, the All-Star events were in Oakland, California. It was dope. And with all of that being said, I greatly appreciate you guys. I will catch y'all on the next one. So until then, have a good one.